good? All right.
Looks like it, yeah, go ahead.
Okay,
Bill,
so
wanna
we'll call to,
Oh, I'm good.
we'll call to order the CIP Subcommittee meeting, starting at 8:30, a little bit late. First on the agenda today is Parks and Rec. If you want to come up, Matt, and introduce yourself and let us know if you have anything.
Yeah, I do have copies of the two things.
Oh,
We admit it is,
do we have to say?
these are a bit rough. We admittedly fell behind in getting this ready, and we identified that at our last meeting. This- And it is something that we're gonna work on our next year's over the winter when it's a little bit slower, so apologies for how rough this is. So for right now, you guys are gonna have two packets in front of you. One is for tennis court replacement, and the other is for, a study to look at tennis court replacement and a study for expansion of sports fields here in town. If you'd like a minute to go through those, or we can go through it together.
Do you have an extra copy?
Yes, I do. There you go. That should be-
So I think we'll go, and correct me, anyone on the subcommittee who thinks I may be wrong. We can go through this, and I think it will be helpful and educational. But one of the things that I think what we focus on are those items that are, correct me if I'm wrong, over $15,000. I don't know if you have as you go through this, if you have any thoughts on what the dollar amount is and going.
At this time, we can't give any numbers at this time. Where we would like to get is, we know this needs to be done, we need to have somebody come out, look at what's going on, look at the property, what can we do, what's it gonna cost, what's the time estimate, all that stuff. That we've figured is the very beginning. Instead of just throwing a number out there and saying, hey, I need, $1,500 or 1.5 mil, let's get somebody out here and explain exactly what needs to be done.
I know that a year ago or 2 years ago, there was a written proposal from an engineering company. It was either 30 or 35,000
Okay.
to come out and study the entire needs. That included the sports field and the tennis courts.
Okay.
So a single proposal would be given to address both. Doesn't mean they'd both be in the same place, but
Yeah.
it would address both. I'm guessing that you're probably going to be, if you put these two together for the evaluation engineering study, you're probably looking 25 to 40,000.
Yeah, I would,
But Jack, do you know, as from the selectman's point of view, is that considered a CIP request, the engineering study?
It would, but the real issue with studies is not the study itself, it's getting the town aware to vote on a warrant article to do a study. And no matter how compelling the need of the study has been traditionally over the years, they fail. So it's one of those deals where you have a time frame for this? Because I looked in your package, I didn't see a given time frame.
so, and Denise is, she has been an excellent volunteer with Park. She was down for a long time. She has very in-depth knowledge of all this. I have only gathered this information over the past less than 2 years that I've been on Park. My understanding is that the original surface and courts are already past their life expectancy, and that they were resurfaced, and that we are coming to the end of that life expectancy. They've been repaired, like I said, to the point where they're almost unusable. So there's a very good chance we could be looking at having to close the courts, as I said, based on advice from players and volunteers, in the next year or two. If we can't keep these cracks closed up, gallons of filler, we're gonna have to close the courts for safety purposes.
I think that there, and I can help you, the shared file that I left with Naomi has a lot of documents in it. It has the historical documents for the tennis courts, which might help you, to Jack's point, to look at not only the historical perspective, because, you know, it is 40 years old, repaired 3 times. Most companies refuse to repair them again. We were only able to find one. But also looking at, there's information in there about what the replacement cost would be. To Jack's point, to maybe try to look at least taking an estimate of if the town were to advance the repair and replacement of the courts, what would we be looking at and when would we have to start? I know 2 or 3 years ago, and that could be different.
Yeah.
To replace in place was $1 million.
Yeah, and we had discussed that, that was available, and we
Right.
just felt that 3 years old, the numbers are probably gonna be
It
completely
probably,
different
it
now.
probably is
Yeah.
not an accurate number. It might be better. There might be a different surface.
It is a baseline to go off of,
Right.
absolutely.
But I do think that if it would be helpful, again, as you put this document together, to go back and look at, to get a cost in here, and what are you hoping to do with that, you know, at the end of, I think in that same shared folder, there's a lot of documentation on the volumes that were provided by the various athletic groups and the needs. Those may be laid out in this document, might be helpful. Also, I think, again, giving the town a sense of what's the scope and depth of the needs.
If I might point out something on both these. The tennis courts are long in the tooth, meaning it's gotta be redone. And then the bigger question is, I mean, if this is an issue, this one is 10 times as big. And they both kind of go together, because we can get into issues of how was the tennis court land given to the town for use. But if we ever did a sports field expansion, that would be an appropriate place to put the tennis courts possibly. And we all know how congested the parking is. So from a long-range perspective, the longest pole, if you will, in a tent is the expansions. So it would be kind of an issue about upgrading the surface and deciding to remove it. But that doesn't help you in tennis.
Yeah.
And the real issue here is, we struggle with replacing capital equipment for DPW and police on a timely basis.
Yes, sir, understood, yeah.
So, it's noble you guys are bringing these forwards. I hate to use the word premature, because we've been doing this for a long time. But, I know there's some activities going around for looking for alternate sites, and working with that. We've had discussions on East Road, and some issues with that land, complications. Not that it's bad land, but how it was purchased. And there are strings attached to the tennis court on how it to be used, I think, by how it was given. That may not be insurmountable. But this one here is probably a $100,000 problem. This one here is a $1 million plus.
Yep.
And I think the bottom line is, even if you had these things laying flat as far as a plan, it's getting enough voters to vote yes.
Mm-hmm.
And with this size, unless somebody's got some deep pockets and wanna help the town, this would be like a bond. And that takes 2/3, or 60%, whatever it is, above a simple majority. So it's noble you're bringing these forwards. From a master plan standpoint, these are needed. From the growth on the town, because most of our fields were done back when we were 3,500 people. Now we're 3 times. Transfer station, same problem.
Mm-hmm.
Built at 3,500 people, now we're close to 10. So, hate to let the air out of your balloon, but it's a question of, these 2 requests are premature for us putting them into the CIP. We could put a placeholder out, maybe 2028, 2029, for the future. But for this year, I think it's premature. There's no cost, no schedule, and no real plan.
But that's what we were asking for. There's no plan because there's been nothing to look at it. We have no idea what the cost could be. I would love to have put a number down, but I was not gonna make some imaginary number and say, it's gonna cost us 1.5. You know, we need to know what is possible
Well,
with this. And,
there's 2 variations. One is, where do you get the money from? 2,
Mhm.
where do you get the land from?
mhm,
So, one is monetary, the other is physical
Mhm.
proximity. And
Jack, can I ask a question
Sure.
from being that you're the select board representative? To hire an engineering company to do the study, which I think is what Matt is starting with the baseline, to be able to build that plan, if that amount is greater than 15, because they do have a reserve fund, can that be taken out of the reserve fund without going forward with a warrant article?
this is, wow, that's a good question. But we would, well, Naomi, we need to ask a question.
What's that?
Good. If, let's suggest it's $16,000 to do an engineering study.
Yep.
They have the money. Do we still have to go on a warrant
Is
article?
it special revenue?
Yeah. Yeah,
Is it donation? Where are we getting the money from?
the Lake Chorus revenue, I think, goes into that
You could
fund.
use it for a study, was that the idea
Yeah.
when we set up the
Yeah.
fund?
I think
Was it used for study or for equipment? We'd have to look it out.
I think if you look at the original language, it was pretty broad, but you're right, the language was very specific. It was equipment and/or planning. I think they could pull it up, what the original,
It's maintaining, improving, and/or adding to the equipment, buildings, and grounds overseen by the Parks and Recreation Commission.
Okay.
so if this is part of the improvement,
So let me rephrase the question.
It's a revolving fund, not a special revenue, so no.
Okay, so it's a revolving fund, not a special revenue fund, so you wouldn't have to go to town meeting.
So the select board can pull it out? Okay. But the problem is, where do you wanna do it? That's, so if you solve the easiest part, maybe, you have the money.
well, ideally, and again, the reason why we split it, like you said, cost and location, right? These are 2 major projects. Tennis courts, we should be able to do on the property they're already on. That,
But is that the best plan for the town?
I think that's where I was trying to say in the beginning in terms of if you looked at an engineering study, and Jack's right, you can't say, come and look at this land and tell us what you can do. But I think if you look at the original proposal that was sent out a couple of years ago, it was, look at the volumes, so look at what the current volumes are, what the current needs are, both tennis and athletic, and start with telling us how much land would we need, how would that be laid out, even if you combine the 2 together, are we talking 3 acres, 10 acres, 20 acres? To Jack's point, I think the challenge when we look at capital improvement and planning, parks never really knew how much acreage they needed. And so maybe if you put these 2 together and focus the study on, here's what we're being told we need, what we're facing, what would be solution options, and what would be land need. if you did them separate or
So you're
put them
thinking an
together.
overall plan,
Correct.
overall facility needs.
Right, and so
for
I
the
think
town.
if you look at the proposal that was given to us from an engineering firm, and I think it was either 30 or 35,000
Yeah.
at the time, it was to just take the data of the needs and come back and say, if you were to meet the needs of the town now and into the future, you would need X acreage, and this is how it would be laid out. If you put them together, or if you kept them separate. And I think when you come back, when you have some of that, then you can start to do the long-term planning. What's the cost? How much acreage do we need? Where's the funding source gonna come from? Again, in that same folder, there's extensive information on state grants, matching grants up to $1 million. So that's all part of the capital improvement plan, long-term, that we would be looking to have here.
I'm very sympathetic to updating these two things. Not that I'm not sympathetic. It's one thing if you spent your $16,000 for a study, and then, let's say it's $150,000 to rebuild that site, and they say, oh, by the way, it's too small. You know, you don't really have enough parking.
Yeah.
So, I guess I would ask you, is this the most important thing to spend your $16,000 on at this point in time? Because it is, you do accrue over time money, right?
Mhm.
So, and I know there are people trying to solve the larger problem of athletics fields. And A, we need to figure out where,
Mhm.
and B, we need to figure out what source of funds we can get, which are outside the town. So the town has been always kind of benevolent in the form of, if a certain amount of money is given from charitable or philanthropic, matching is something the town has done in the past. Can't guarantee the future.
Sure.
So, I know this isn't helping you, and I think even if the board was fully behind us, it's a question of getting the votes with the size of this expenditure. It could be a bond, and that's even a bigger hurdle for the number. And I would go one step further and say, you've got the WAC on your side, you've got Parks and Rec, and you have a lot of people with a lot of kids in town. So you have a possibly highly motivated bunch of people, voters. Getting that campaign out there and get the turnout at the deliberative session is
Yep.
the first hurdle. And the second hurdle is get them to show up and vote yes.
Yep.
So, I hate to rain on your parade, but that's kind of where I see it. It doesn't mean I got perfect. So,
No, I get it. And like I said, we know we were coming in here, a bit unprepared. We fell behind on this. And the agreement was we are at least bringing up these concerns for the CIP project and for Board of Select to recognize that we do identify this as the biggest problem we're facing right now.
You know what would be helpful,
Yeah, yeah.
and I don't know if you have it within your wherewithal, if you had a civil engineer on WAC or somebody that can help you, you really need to figure out how many ball fields, tennis courts, these kind of things, which is sort of the requirements, and that's the answer to the question of why bother. Why bother to even do this? Because we need these items. You might even have a priority on them, because even if you got the land, development of the land is very costly. So if you had, I'll use the term, a master plan or a strategy, in other words, this is the ultimate goal, how would you take multiple bites of the elephant? You can't do it all at once.
Yep.
So having that strategy, and it may take you a while to even get that, and get agreement amongst your group that you front, if you will. So that's the hard problem.
I think, go ahead.
Yeah, another piece of the puzzle here as far as relocating or leaving it where it is that there's been a lot of discussion, a lot of planning done on an eventual expansion of the library. And again, one of the pieces that was talked about at length was a community room that has handicapped access and so forth. That to me means additional parking. And so that would be another incentive to relocate the tennis court because the space could be used as part of a library expansion, not for the building itself, but for additional parking.
Yep,
And town hall parking at
Yeah.
all, you know?
Yeah.
So, I'm not making light of your two requests. They're reasonable for a town this size, updating the infrastructure. Unfortunately, we're not able to help you with that much.
I think the key here is, because that's what the capital improvement is, it's a plan.
It's
And
planning.
I think it's, if nothing else, this is good discussion, and to look at what you can do with the source funding that you have, the data that you have, and maybe be able to come back in another year, at least with a plan. If you look at like what the fire department does, the police, DPW, you know, we kind of know out 10 years in that planning, and as Jack said, to how do you bite the pieces of the elephant off over the years. So I do think that these are, as Jack just said, reasonable. I just think there's probably some more planning
Oh.
before we advance anything.
I
this year.
100% agree, yeah. There's definitely more hard data
Yeah.
that needs to be available, but,
And I, again, Naomi has a shared file that I think has a lot of documents.
Put it
from-
out there for everybody to share.
Huh?
IT was supposed to put it out there for everybody, but they can't access it.
Yeah, they were supposed to put it out for all members of parks, but there's a lot of documents in there. If you can't get access to them, you know, let me
Well,
know.
we'll try again, because
Yeah.
that was supposed to be for
Yeah.
them.
yeah, one of our members, I believe, has been speaking to you about trying to get the
Yeah, and
access
Randy
for
was
us.
trying.
Yeah, and whenever we log into the accounts, we don't see the access, so
Yeah,
that
they-
has, been a bit of a barrier. But we do understand, we weren't expecting, a hurrah and, we're gonna do this, totally understand. We don't have a complete plan, we don't have hard data, but we just wanted to get this out there and get people more aware. Like you said, a lot of people who are only aware of this problem are the ones who have kids in town and are using the fields, or the people who are playing tennis and pickleball. At least this way, we put it out there, hey, these are situations we're looking at, and in some situations, it's kind of dire, especially with that tennis court. So,
Did you have any comments or questions? You're all set?
Fine, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Thank you, Matt.
all right, thank you, I appreciate all the time.
Thank you, Matt.
We had the library on the agenda, but they don't have any items, so we had asked Jason to come back. So Jason, if you want to forward. I think one of the items that we had talked to Jason about was helping us better understand the fleet and the long-term replacements.
Thank you. What happened to Wi-Fi? Thank you, huh? Bluetooth?
No.
Huh? You gotta hang yourself on that wire.
It's long in the tooth, it's not Bluetooth.
Long in the tooth, not Bluetooth.
Yeah, break that. You guys see that? Okay. So, you asked for a spreadsheet on the rotation, and an updated one anyway, so, our fleet's a little bit bigger. I kinda just mirrored what the police department has always brought to you guys. Our fleet's obviously a little bit bigger than yours, so I got about 3 pages here. Now, this is just the, trucks at the highway department. It's not, any equipment, so, you got T1 through 11 is all of our big trucks, 10-wheelers and 6-wheelers. And then P1, P2, and P3 are all 1-tons or pickups.
So it's the T1 through 11 that you use for plowing?
So the 1-tons get used as well.
Okay.
So really, if you look at P1 and P2, or actually P1 and P3 rather, those are the ones that do, P1 does the parking lots in town, town hall, library, police station, fire stations. It's got a couple small roads as well. And then P3 does some of the nastier hills, smaller roads over off of Reservoir around the lake. And then P2 is the pickup. That also has a plow on it, and that does go out when something else breaks down, so.
I mean, your selection for the year really is just identifying when it's practically able to be replaced and it may accelerate.
Yeah, so the idea is to keep us on that 11-year rotation, to get a big truck every year. So that's, once we get to where we need to be again, we can get on that schedule, but we've been put a little bit further behind. Obviously, you can see T4, that's a little bit out of that 11-year rotation, as well as T7 and T8, those are all.
6-wheelers.
Yeah, T7 and T8 are 6-wheelers, those are out of that 11-year, and then T2 is a Kenworth. That's a 2015, so we're right at the 11-year rotation on that, but there's 3 trucks that are in front of that one.
So how much did you spend on that 2015 this year?
That got about $25,000 worth of parts this year.
And that includes your labor.
That doesn't include our labor.
And then the other thing is, you're down one truck. The Mack basically has the 2000 Mack broke its back in the form of the frame.
Yeah, so I'll direct you to the last page. That that Mack was actually T10. We decided with us being able to hire a full crew and us having the full staff to man all the trucks, to go ahead and get the truck from the last vote and replace that Mack with that one. So that Mack will be going away.
So you're still down 3 from a geriatric standpoint.
We're still behind on the rotation on 3. Yeah,
10-wheeler and 2 6-wheelers.
yeah.
So just to make sure I understood what you just said, T10.
Yep.
If I turn to page 3, T10, that truck is no longer a part of the fleet, or won't be part of the fleet.
Yep, so the last town vote where we got a truck,
Yeah.
it was the idea of the department to replace one of the 6-wheelers. With that being said, we got the truck in the beginning of this year. We had full staff. I didn't see any reason to get rid of a six-wheeler that, for all intensive purposes, will plow snow, to keep the truck that won't plow snow this year. So that's the idea behind the decision. That's why the decision was made. I think it's personally a better decision for the town.
Yep.
Will allow us to keep our services where they need to be.
So T10 is a truck then that's in service, it's just, it doesn't need replacement because it's brand new?
No, it's been replaced with this, the truck came in from the last vote. It's actually a 2025 Western Star, so that'll be all the way,
Oh.
that should be in this
Okay.
2036 if we had the
All right.
right rotation, but we don't, so that's gonna last a couple more
So
years.
this was a truck you purchased this year?
Well, that's the truck we received this
Okay,
year.
Okay, all right.
It's from 2
Before.
years ago.
Okay.
Now, there's some downfalls or some shortcomings from having these trucks. What's the repair bill for all your large trucks? You have a budget of 85,000?
We have budget 85,000, yep.
What's the clock looking like now?
140.
So we're up to, so, given the fact we're going into a plowing season, could almost be the price of a truck.
Half.
Well, I'm still gonna go to plowing season.
Well, yeah, as of right now.
Then explain what happens when a person that should be driving a truck isn't driving a truck, but still getting paid.
Normally they're at the shop helping the mechanic fix their truck, if that happens.
But you're down, yeah.
But essentially you're taking away from two routes at that point.
But what I'm saying is, you have an impact on your service delivery.
Yeah.
So in other words, you pay a CDL driver to drive trucks, plowing with snow, that's a service delivery. Instead of doing that, he's out there helping the mechanic either transport the truck or transport the truck back or whatever it is, and
Yeah.
not doing the actual service delivery.
Yeah, so it's T2 and T3, those guys they're kind of on sister routes. So if you get T3 that breaks down, you've got T2 that's trying to make up all of his stuff plus his stuff.
But
So-
then we get into, we're actually paying the full-time guy that's not driving the truck. And
Yeah.
we're paying a driver overtime to make up for the routes that he can't plow his truck, can't plow the roads.
Yes.
Okay, so
Well,
it's
that's-
not only just,
That's if he breaks down in the middle of a storm, but
so if you had to fashion a guess for all this downtime, what percentage of a person is that? Is that half a person out of your 11? I mean, that's basically money spent without service delivered.
yeah, I couldn't even
Yeah,
begin to
because
give
you
you
don't
a
track it
percent on
that
that.
way. But there is some down and idle time for these people. So you got the cost of the repairs are killing us, the cost of the overtime to make up for the routes that are getting plowed by the guy that doesn't have a truck, and the labor the guy is spending, who is a full-time person with benefits. So it's a cumulative effect.
Jason, what's the increase in price when you put off the purchase of a truck? Approximately percentage or dollars?
They have been pretty steady right at the 280, 285 number. As of the last couple of years, there was a pretty big jump in like 2020. It went from 160 and then we kind of shot right up to that 180 number to get a truck and equipment. I'll say the last two trucks that we've got, the body numbers as far as how much the plows cost, how much the body's gonna cost, how much to install all that, has been right around 110,000 for those 2 years. So I haven't seen it fluctuate a lot. I got a budget quote at right around the same, 110, 112. And then honestly, the trucks, it's all different, whatever make, model that you spec out. Some of them will have a 15-liter engine, some of them will have a 12-liter engine, and that could be a $10,000 difference between the two brands. So, as far as that goes, that's your biggest fluctuation.
So you're baking in 280?
Yeah.
So, I'm just looking at my notes from last week. I just want to make sure I understood. You also talked about the possibility of a grant.
I haven't heard anything back
Okay.
on that yet.
So if I understood you correctly, you've looked at, or you've applied for a grant that would give you enough, if you got it, reimbursement, that you could maybe look at purchasing 2 trucks?
Yeah, it
For
was.
what it would cost
Yep.
the town for one?
Yep.
If
Less
you-
than.
If you,
Yep.
because the number I have is 92,000.
Yep.
2 trucks.
Yep.
If you were to get that grant, what would be the second, so in addition to the T4, is there another truck you'd look to move up?
Whichever's dead. Whichever's dead.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it would be T4, and then we would decide on which one of these Volvos, T7 or
Okay.
T8.
All right. And when do you have some sense of when you might know?
It's a rolling grant, so
Yeah.
they're supposed to be awarding them monthly.
Yeah.
From what I read. So I was hoping by the end of this month that we'd hear something. If not, it'll be at the end of
Okay.
next.
So the plan would be that if you don't get the grant, you'll go forward with one truck.
Yep.
Being T4.
Yep.
And it would be around 260,000, correct?
Yep.
As you have 20,000 capital reserve
We'd have to appropriate
Wait.
to
280, and you would show a,
offset of 20. And then if you get the grant, then that drops that down to having to raise 92,000 for 2 trucks.
It's a reimbursement grant, so yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. That's ultimately what we would spend. So this is the body on T4. This is the side dump. There's a piston that comes out here and tips that side up. And that one ripped right out of the side of the body a couple years ago. This happened last year. This is a repair the guys just made. There's the wing. You can see the delamination here. More of it here. And then got a little repair there. You probably can't quite tell, but this is the main support in the rear for the tailgate. Rot holes here. You can see right there. And then that's a repair. This is the opposite side, so they're both rotted out like that. They're both getting repaired. And this is actually the front of the body where the piston picks the dump body up. You can see it's all rusted and cracked and broken. And then the boys threw that together on there just to try to get it through this winter. Hopefully the next one, if we do get a truck voted on and we get to replace this one.
When you receive approval through vote to purchase a truck, from the point of that approval, what's the time frame before you actually receive a truck that you can put in service?
So the 2024 truck that got approved, we got in some March or May of this year.
a year.
So it takes about a year.
Jason, you could talk about, that's a mild steel bodies you're showing.
Yeah.
And we buy, traditionally, the last 7 we purchased hard docks.
Yep, so it's just it's a different type of steel. It holds up better to what we need, what we do. It costs a little bit more, but it lasts much longer. You could see any of the new ones that we've bought. I encourage any of you guys to come down and check them out. They do have a little bit of surface rust, but it's nothing major. Guys have spent the last couple rainy days in the shop, needle scaling and repainting those bodies. They're no worse for wear. Some of them are getting close to that 10-year mark, so.
That body's designed not to rust by alloy.
Yep.
This is very helpful. At least for me, it gives me a visual picture of, you know, what you have, what you're looking for. Does anybody else have any questions on the trucks? Jack, was there any other, or for anybody, was there any other items that Jason had talked about that we wanted to revisit, or?
The scale, you're going forwards with the scale,
Yep.
and you haven't incurred any difficulties looking to install that?
Nope.
So, and one of the things that's going on in the background, which he hasn't mentioned, maybe he had last time, is myself and Bruce Fillmore are working with Jason. If we put this scale on the site, want to make sure we don't have to move it, because there is a congestion issue between driving up the way we drive up now. People get out, throw trash on the left, they get out and they walk across traffic, and they throw it on the right for the recycling. And that is if it was designed for 3,500 people, 84, 85, whenever we did it, that probably was okay. But on Saturday morning, it's just a bit of a crowded.
It's a little crowded.
So the thought is trying to minimize the cost of expanding the site, but yet still make it so it's a safety issue, mitigate the safety issues. And where do you put the scale? The fortunate thing is we got plenty of land we can play with. So we kind of come up with, quote, a master plan, because the current thought process is that we would probably reverse the order for which people drive in. In other words, instead of going up the road where it is, drive just a little bit further and go in back of the recycling paper, loop around and come back down so everybody's going one direction, and locate paper and recycling so they get out and do that thing, then drive down and throw their trash so they're not doing this cross-traffic thing. I want to make sure where the scale goes, it doesn't have to be moved. So that's sort of what's going on in the background, and that's a work in progress. I think Bruce and I want to take some of your time again and go up there, look, and finish that plan.
So in the scale document, it does talk about a master plan. In the long-term master plan for the site,
So we're talking
Jack's
about.
point, yeah. Is there long-term plans to redo the
Yeah.
actual structures and?
Yes, because when we were a small town, it made absolute sense to do what we did. Now, just, we've grown up 3 times, and 3 times the volume, and it doesn't, I guess the point of this whole discussion is, the scale will be some 40 feet long,
Yep.
and the pitch to get on the scale would be 20, to satisfy the pitch to go on the scale. Each side of it's gotta be 25 feet straight. They go up 2 feet, they come down 25 inches, come down 25 inches, then take any turns. So this is not it's 90 feet.
Right.
So this is not a trivial issue about where you locate it, and we'd like to do it once.
Well, I think based on what we talked about last time and what we're talking about now, I think there's a couple pieces for me. I think you did a good job for us last week, or 2 weeks ago, talking about your challenges with the revolving fund and being under budget, over budget, whatever. Because it's just really a measurement guesstimate.
Yep.
Right now, compared to other towns that actually weigh. And when you
Exactly.
take the debris away, it's being weighed based on what they charge us. So
Exactly.
the scale, number one, I mean, I think laying out both, that, number one, it gives us more accurate what we're taking in and what we're gonna have to pay out, and not finding ourselves under budget.
Exactly.
In short, we're charging people on volume
Right.
and trying to divine at the end of the year, that equates to tons.
Yep.
So I
So-
do think from a taxpayer perspective, that's an important piece, because it helps not have it running a deficit at the end of the year. That
I would hope that everybody would want to solve this
Yeah. I
problem.
think the second point that what Jack's talking about is that, if in securing the scale, if that were to happen, that there is a educated and thoughtful process of where to place it.
Right.
So there's not a cost to the town, again, in the long run, to have to move that. Is the master plan of the site something that's out there publicly?
It's gaseous at this point, because it's in my head, it's in Bruce's head, and his head.
Okay.
And Bruce has volunteered, or I volunteered him to draw up the site of the future site, so we can actually have something to point to. We just gotta work out some issues on radiuses, on the turns, because if trucks go up there, large trucks, we gotta make sure they can make the turn, tractor trailers or whatever, and get the traffic flow correct. So, I think we know what the pieces are, and we just gotta do one more visit,
Yep.
and, or maybe at least one more visit, and we will have 99% of it nailed down. And by the way, we talk about the master plan. This will be incremental as we get revenues, revolving fund revenues and/or additional funds from the town to implement these over a course of time. But we will do it in a pragmatic way where we're following a plan versus, ad hoc every year. So Jason's done a great job thinking this through, and I appreciate his being generous with his time.
Anybody else have any?
Just a comment,
Yeah.
really. It's an issue of fairness to the employees down there too, because they're put on a spot all the time when they have to give a guesstimate on a load of demo that comes in.
Yep.
And probably a lot of times end up having to bargain with the person or
Negotiating.
negotiate, yeah.
There's at least one argument a day.
Yeah, I can imagine.
How much?
At least
How
one.
much?
Yeah. Yeah.
But basically, if you're doing this conversion, let's say we came out absolutely perfect into the year. Just all the little pieces adding up to that, somebody's getting overcharged, somebody's getting undercharged. Just by virtue of how we're doing weight to ton, volume to tons.
Yep.
That's-
Anything else for Jason? Thank you for coming back.
Yep, not a
Appreciate it.
problem.
This is very
Thank you,
helpful.
Jason.
Perfect.
Gives us a good
Have a good one.
picture.
I have one more thing.
Huh?
I have one thing.
Uh-oh.
For Jason?
Uh-oh.
You know about this.
I did?
Yeah.
I know everything.
The solar array.
Oh, yes.
It's really not ours, but it's a CIP you should be aware of. So, anybody want one? So, back in 2024, we put together, or the Energy Commission put together a grant through the State of New Hampshire Department of Energy. And we were told at that time that thanks, but we didn't get awarded it. Somewhere down the path, some other community backed out. And now they're been pressuring us a little bit to sign a contract with them. It's $119,240 to put solar arrays on the safety complex. And it's a reimbursement program, so we have to pay for it and then bill monthly to the Department of Energy at the state, similar to what we do with the bridge, and we would get the money back. What the selectmen did is we did not sign an agreement and did not move forward, but we did make a promise, I'll say, that we're going to put a warrant article on the ballot for 2026 for the $119,240 to move forward with the solar array. One little wrinkle that's come up, I don't know if we've got a cost yet for it. Before the solar array could be put on the safety complex, a structural engineer of the building would need to be done to make sure that those panels could be put on without an issue to the building. Building's fairly new enough, hoping that it'll do it, but I don't know where that money's gonna come from, nor has the board talked about that. It's been an email between the chair of the Energy Commission and myself. There obviously is gonna be, what the end result would be is to reduce our electricity bills, but you have to keep in mind, this isn't free, because you do have probably inverters that you're gonna have to keep track of and things like that over time. Not gonna say right away, but Jack, you know more about solar. You have solar at your house. So there is ongoing costs, maybe not in the next 5 years or something, but there would be costs. The inverters and things like that.
And the inverters are not part of the grant?
They're part of it, but you know as well as I do, they're gonna wear out in time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me just speak for this.
There's no batteries, we're not
No,
talking about any battery
no
backup.
storage.
Yeah.
So this is called a net meter. What that means is, somebody old enough to have a 1960s car, if you took your parents' car out and you drove extra miles you didn't want your parents to see, you jack up the back end and put it in reverse and the meter spins backwards. Okay, your odometer. Okay? This is the same as if it's producing power. It spins the meter backwards, and when you are using power that the sun's not out or at night, it spins forwards and you get charged. So the end of the period, forwards and back, it figures out what you used and you get billed. Now, I'd like to give credit to the Energy Commission. I worked a little bit with Dave Erickson, who I dealt with, and Bruce Fillmore did most of the work for the board. And basically, this is a passive system, no moving parts, okay? It doesn't produce a lot of energy at night. Maybe starlight, but it's negligible. So this basically is a $119,000 grant to the town. Zero cost to the town other than floating some money for a period of time between billing and payments. Am I correct?
Yes.
And what's the biggest number that we'd be floating for a
Well, I don't know, it depends on how much, like if you buy all of the panels at once, you'll probably get billed for the panels, you know what I mean? So I don't know, they're using, I think, 200-watt panels?
be bigger than that?
So I'm going to stop right there because that was a question I had.
Yeah.
So it's, if you take the 119,240, the town cuts a check to somebody for that amount of money, right?
Whoever the contractor is,
Right
yes.
up front.
I don't know if it's up front. It's done on a monthly billable, they said. So I don't think we're gonna pay the whole 119 before he does the job. We may pay for
Probably
part of the, you probably pay for the material and then build once he's done his work, whoever the contractor is.
But the reimbursement, once you've paid out this amount of money, the reimbursement comes in small chunks.
No, I believe we would bill them, like if we could hand them
Okay.
this is, a state does it this way, I think, with our bridge. We do the similar thing with the bridge money.
Okay.
So we incur bills.
Yeah.
We have to have it documented. So then we documented that we paid them X amount for the bill, then we send the copies to
Okay.
the state, and then the state would reimburse us for what we've done.
That's, I was.
I don't think we just cut the check right up front,
No,
because
no,
he hasn't done the work
I
yet.
was misunderstanding what you had said. It sounded like we would get reimbursed over a long period of
Oh.
time.
Well, it could be, depends on how long it takes us to do it, right?
Right, but, I better understand, I think.
It's really, I just wanted to come here and let everybody know what we were doing, because we did make a promise to the New Hampshire Department of Safety, as well as our own energy group, that we would put on a warrant article. So when people see the warrant article for 119,240, we have to front the money first. It's not, it's not, you know, it's not gonna be, it'll be raised, but it'd be an in and an out kind of a thing.
And as far as what Jack was just describing, as far as long-term operational cost, like, how long, what's the life expectancy of a panel?
Let me speak to that.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be 40 years, 50
Right,
years.
right.
I've had mine for 14 years, and I've seen no degradation in the power over time. I mean, the earlier ones were problematic.
Yeah.
These is, I mean, mine are 14 years old, and I think mine are 250 watts. So basically what happened is, we had X dollars, how many panels can we get? 42, I think the magic number is.
I think it is, yeah.
That's not enough to do the entire site, but it's gonna take a big chunk every year out of the electrical costs.
Right.
And so, and basically, there's no batteries. In other
Right.
words, when we generate more than we use, it goes out on the grid. Somebody down the street gets it.
Right.
And when we need more than we generate,
You pay for it.
pay for it.
Right.
So there's no magic involved. And,
I don't think there's any magic in saying that in 5 years you gotta replace inverters. We've had our system, we put our personally, we put up a field array at our house, we didn't do it on the roof. And we did 400 watt panels, and it's worked flawless in the last year, so.
So there is some, eventually when everything's up and running, there is some reduction in the,
Once you start generating,
Yeah.
yes.
reduction in,
Yes.
what's the, do we know what the average energy? bill-
well, it was an industry standard put out there when I had it, 1% a year.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen that. That was just to tell people, over time, the panels is a physical issue that happens in the panels. They dope silicon so that when you shine light on it, it kicks out a photon, which is really current.
Yeah.
And that's what happens. So over time, if the panel surface gets a little corroded, it may not see as much light to the actual element, the substrate. But I haven't seen that. I mean, that's one of those worry beads that people use if they don't want it or don't understand it. I have not seen it. And these things are designed to run forever.
And they withstand the weather well, too.
No, I'm just trying to get a sense of, is there a 50% reduction in the electric bill when it's fully up and running and?
Well, don't know, because it's not designed for that. You've got 42 panels generating power. It's going to offset whatever that generation's in the year. It's probably 30 million BTUs, 30 million
Kilowatts.
watts a year. And I don't know if it uses 10 times that down there, but it's basically chiseling off
Yeah.
that piece off the power bill.
And I think there's a mechanism, Denise, that we've learned over ours. There's a mechanism, you can look at your phone, and you can tell if you got a panel that's not producing like the rest of the panels. You could have an inverter or some connection, if they're not putting out the same amount. And I just think it could be closely monitored. We do ours, but that's just us.
It's not an issue.
No,
If it is an issue, it's an infant mortality issue.
Yeah, that's
where
not my concern is not that the equipment's not working, failing, will fail. It's the return on the investment.
yeah, it would be it's a budget, it would affect the budget, basically, because you don't know that number, but you're still gonna have to appropriate enough money to pay your light bill in case something doesn't happen. And then, I'm guessing you just wouldn't get as much of a light bill. You know what I'm saying? That's how ours works. We haven't had a light bill in a year, so.
Well, that was kind of my
Yeah.
question. If you had a sunny day every day, I know that doesn't
It still
happen.
generates today.
Right, but you just said, you could go 3 months and not have a light bill, a year and not have a light bill. Could the town see 3, 4, 5 months in a row without a bill, or this doesn't generate enough
Okay.
power
No,
to
you
cover
could.
the whole?
Your summer months, you definitely
I
could.
generate power in the dead of winter with
Right.
3 feet of snow.
Right.
The question is, it's 1% of what I would do at noon at the summer solstice, at beating down, so. Unless somebody is throwing rocks at this and breaking it, it's not an issue. I mean, these things tend to be highly reliable. If they're not, people would get very upset.
But if we're paying, I'm making this up, if we're paying $1,000 a month in electric bills at that facility, we could see $1,000 a month
No,
savings.
you would see a percentage of that, because this is not geared to replace all the power.
That's what I was trying to
Okay,
ask.
this is basically, we have $119,000, how many panels can we get? versus you need, instead of 42 panels, you need 100 panels.
So
Nobody
it's
did
going
that
to
analysis.
offset a percentage of
Correct.
the bill,
Right.
not 100% of the bill.
Correct. Because the town of Ware would have to cough up the balance of the money,
Okay.
and
Yes.
we're not looking to do that.
So Denise, last year we spent $54,000 in insurance, this year, in electricity. And so far to date, here, we've spent $43,000. That's townwide. We didn't get the breakdown
How
on
much-
that
Can
building.
you break out the,
That's what I was gonna,
Safety complex, 17,000 last year, we're at 13.5
yeah.
this
So
year.
17,000 last year for the safety complex, we're at 13.5 this year. But I don't think because of the amount of area on the roof, you can't do the 100%, but it would marginally cut it back.
I asked the question only because I think taxpayers are gonna ask that
Yeah,
question.
yeah.
Are we gonna see 100% offset?
no.
Or a percentage?
It's not built big enough for that because of the roof
I think
space.
that was
I'll
kind
take
of,
the action to figure out how many
Yeah.
watts, how many watt
So we'll
hours
have
a
that
year,
information for town
Okay,
meeting,
yeah.
yeah,
and do a calculation, because she already told me what the
yeah.
value is, so I can back into the cost per kilowatt hour,
Right.
and come up with a number of watts you use a year, and figure out what percentage. I'm thinking it's probably in the 20 to 30%, but I can't guarantee that.
Yeah,
Question.
and you're right, we'll have that for town meeting. We'll have to, because it's gonna be a warrant article.
Naomi,
Yes.
is this federal money that's funneled through the state? The reason I ask.
I don't know, it
is
came from the Department of Energy, I don't know.
Probably federal money.
Well, the reason I
From the
asked is
state.
because there was a headline, I think it was last week, that says something to the effect of federal funds for solar being clawed back. In other words, money that was originally approved that's being withdrawn, or the approval is being withdrawn. It was in the Monitor, I think it was one of last week's edition. So I was gonna call David and ask him if he'd heard anything about that, but
It'd probably be future
Doesn't
money.
say. Yeah, it doesn't say, this only comes from the New Hampshire Department of Energy. It doesn't say it's where
just
the
a
funds are.
concern if you
Yep.
make the pledge and then it's not there.
Right.
so if you, one other thing, just to clarify, if you do the structural engineering assessment.
I don't
it
know
is-
what that costs, yeah.
Right, and it is possible they would come back and say, without certain
Could be.
changes, the
Anything's possible.
couldn't structurally. If that was the case, then if it was.
That's up to the board, but I don't
These
know.
panels are very, very light. The cost per, the weight per square foot is very, very slight. Okay, when I had mine put on, Chip insisted that he go down and look at my structure to ensure that, because he didn't know how much these things weighed, and he did the analysis, and he felt my building was more than adequate. And when they build commercial buildings like we got, there's a safety factor in there, many times over.
Yeah, we just replaced the roof a little while ago, so we had glass climbing all over the roof,
So
so.
do you think you'll have the results of that engineering study prior to the?
I think it's two separate things, to be honest with you. That came about just separately after the board has made a commitment to put this on the ballot. I don't know, I think the structural engineering would have to be done first. That email just surfaced this 2 weeks ago.
Do you think there'd be time to have it done before the deliberative sessions, in case somebody were to
I
add?
think this pending,
Yeah, I think they would do
Okay.
that pending, Denise.
Okay. All right,
So that's, and I only brought it forth because if you see it on the ballot and someone says, why didn't it come to CIP, that's the reason. It's just, we made the commitment to the Energy Committee that we would put a warrant on the ballot.
if it doesn't support the solar panels, we're not gonna do it. We're not gonna redesign the roof
right.
to do a few panels. I'd be shocked if it required anything.
You don't know, though,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. All right, thank you, Naomi, for bringing that forward. So, this would be our last meeting. We don't have any,
No, and that's, so I know you, Denise, committed to 2 hours on each day.
yeah.
So do you want to push forward with the whiteboard, or do you want to come back next Wednesday and do just the whiteboard? Next Wednesday be October 1st, and I don't know if Jason would have any information for you. It's up to you. You guys can collectively decide what you'd like to
I
do.
say we do the whiteboard, because there isn't very much controversial here.
Okay, I'm just asking,
It's what,
You're saying, use the time we have today?
sure.
Yeah.
as long as everybody's
This
fine
is
with
a
it.
10-minute issue.
Will you, did
I'll
you
second
guys?
that.
Okay.
Third it.
Okay. All right,
Anybody want to refresh their copies?
Yeah. Take out, yeah.
Oh. I got pumpkin spice.
Organize mine.
you want to start at the top like we started with, like police?
Yeah, that's fine. Yep.
See if any of these are right.
No.
Never school person, so.
I'll be right back. Just gonna
Yes, diamond coffee. Looks like you can use it. You want some coffee?
No, I'm good, thank you. I have my 2 cups for the day.
Bill, you want coffee?
You know, I got one right out of the truck.
Frank, you want a coffee?
No, thank you. Appreciate it.
How about a donut? Ooh, thank you.
I'll run right back in.
I'm gonna eat it up.
Did Park, you come up with anything? No. Park was it, talk about a study.
just TI.
There's no spell check on this board.
No, Mark did it on the CIP and
I
corrected.
followed it then, that's what I did.
And I'm waiting for them to call in and be like, hey, you gotta get the work done here.
So the cruiser, we'll go colorful today. I was gonna use blue for police and red for fire, and I'm not gonna go that much. We'll go to green for money.
Pumpkin spice.
Red.
Heard you say that. And I would probably not have taken them.
So we should do a total column, and then an offset column, and a net column.
Take a nap.
Cruiser was 85, no, this is a total. 283. Carport was 30. This is total, don't get nervous. Cistern was 100K. Ventilators was 50K. Truck was 280. Scale was 100. Road reconstruction was 700. Okay. Let's go the other direction. We'll go with red for our offsets on that. And then blue will be the final number. I love colors. I think I should. So on the cruiser, oh, you ready? Denise, you
Yeah.
ready?
Yeah.
So, we started off, as you know, last week, police chief went first. Blue chief, we call him, blue chief, red chief. So the police chief went first, and he's looking for a cruiser. The total was 85,283, but he's got an offset, that we don't have real numbers for yet, because, he's looking at taking 16,566 from detail, the 8,717 from the White Farm. Car 5, we had an insurance claim, it's not totaled. They're going to put in a used motor in it, So there is some insurance money there, but I doubt there is any insurance money, because that's gonna put the new motor in. So I don't know what the trade would be either. So if you look at his paperwork, his, thought was that he would be asking the taxpayer for 60K in the warrant article. So 60, I'm thinking, is the number? Is that right, Doug?
Yep.
60K would be his number,
I
because
would.
I'm thinking he may have a little more
Yeah.
detail money.
Yeah,
So
but
what he
even,
presented was 60K.
but if you sold the thing for, at auction, that goes back to the general fund?
Right, but he's asking to use it out of the general fund. He asked the board previously, and it was okay last year to use it on last year's offset.
What's that, like?
$8,717, so you're studying papers. So I'm just gonna say, over here, is what he asked for was 60K to go on the ballot. Is that agreeable? You guys with your paperwork?
So if I heard you correctly, he thought they might total the car, but they're not, they're gonna replace the engine.
They're gonna put in a used engine in car
Okay.
5.
Okay.
And that was agreeable with the, I think they conferred with Jason, they conferred with Mark Phillips, who does a lot of their work. And it was an agreeable situation for that car.
That's just resuscitating a
Yep.
dead car.
Right, and they'll still be using it, but the intention is to trade or get rid of car 5.
Yeah, okay.
So in his paperwork, if I remember right, the 60 was the
Yeah.
the tax warrant or whatever. And then, and you guys can go down through and vote. So if I remember right, the carport was full taxation, so that was 30?
Yeah,
Yep, there is kind of an expense deferral. Beth, what does it cost for us to rent the carports for the, I think the police rent some, well, I was told the police rent
He rents
some
storage space
storage space?
for the evidence, one of the
Yeah,
one
he-
of the ports is gonna be the evidence
it,
storage too.
it says right here, the department rents storage bays to store bulk evidence. Fees charged for the bays are volatile.
Do we know what
There
the
were
cost
9
is?
price increases.
Says right there in this paperwork, $2,500.
Okay. So that'll offset $2,500
That
on
would be a
future,
reduction for future. Yeah.
on the operating budget.
But that's an operating expense, not on here.
Correct,
Correct.
but it's an offset.
Correct. The cistern at the fire department, that's to put a cistern in for a 30K cistern at the safety complex, which is 100K to the taxpayer for an additional water system. The portable ventilators was come out of their special revenue fund. So Jason's truck, as we know today, it's going to be $260 for one, because he's, 60. Because you're gonna use the 20 out of the revenue, or out of his capital reserve. The scale is gonna be 0, because we're gonna come out of the special revenue fund for transfer station.
Do we have that kind of money in there?
We will, we're very close now.
Very good.
We still got a few months. Road reconstruction, you're gonna get about 284 from the state, so you're looking at 416. That will be taxation for the warrant.
A little bit on the road reconstruction. That number hasn't really gone up significantly, even through this high inflationary period. And technically, this is required every year. So it's a candidate to go into the operating budget, but I don't think people would pass the operating budget if they saw an increase of $700,000. So it would be a terrible issue if it never got approved, because Jason's people would have nothing to do in the summertime.
And it's possible, Naomi, that the truck component could change if he were to find out he got the grant.
Yep.
That
So I
could-
said, as we know today.
Right, okay.
So the alternative, to your point, would be 560. And the residual is 92 by taxes, is that the number?
Yeah.
Say that again?
If we got the grants, it would be 560 for the trucks, is that correct? Two of them?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes, for two.
And
Yeah.
then we would be exposed by taxes.
520 is 260 twice, no,
It's
280, I don't,
280
wait a minute
twice.
though, 280 twice with
Twice.
five, yes.
Yep.
Five.
And then
then-
we'd have 20% to pay.
I
Is that
believe the
what
grant is, yeah,
then?
that's where 92,000 comes from.
Much,
92,000 would be the offset,
so
Yeah.
that would be the other number.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, so that could potentially go down to 92 and
The other
get us
one's
2 trucks.
560.
Yeah. But we won't know that. Last year, we did the same thing. Everybody talked about it last year. We didn't get funding last year. We were not approved for the grant. So we tried again this year. No harm, no foul, right?
Yeah.
So that's the cruiser. As I said, there's various offsets there. The carport, it will reduce eventually the $2,500 that he pays for the storage. Cistern, the fire chief, you heard him talk about the need for the water. There's not a lot of water anywhere today, but there's the need for the water or a cistern in the center. As you are all well aware of, we've had in the south end of town, we've had the brush fires on Maplewald, and then just last week, the fire at the Granite State Recycling in B&B Lane. That was a huge one. They did successfully use Colby Road, see, I did the same thing, Gull Road, they were able to use that cistern. They used some other sources as well, but in the center of town, there's not a lot of water available if they had a big structure fire or something like that. So that was his request. The portable ventilators, you listened to the assistant chief talk about the ventilators. I don't have to go into detail of what that is, and that would come out of their ambulance billing fund, so there would be zero taxation, but it is a warrant article. Jason's truck, we just talked about the scale. There is a special revenue fund for the transfer station. The anticipation is to take that money out of that, so again, goes on as a warrant, but the taxation would be not. Road reconstruction is a grant that the state of New Hampshire gives us about $283 a year. 700,000 is what Jason had asked for, so that gives a taxation of 416. So let's see, we got,
866.
thank you.
Naomi, could we
My toes
talk
on.
about the truck again?
Yeah.
Just for a minute.
I can try.
I just recall a few years ago,
What was it, Beth?
866.
And what, can you just add this up out of curiosity? And this, while you're doing it. We're bottom line people. Two, 480.
Offset is 478, 283,
478,
283.
Fifty some kid that wanted to cover. It's gonna be 1 something, 1 million something. 'Cause there's.
You got 1.3.
One,
I'm just adding those two up.
there's 1.8, right? There's 1,080,000 plus 150. Plus 115, 283.
1,345,283.
Okay, so what we did is just add it up, so with good luck, this minus this equals that, how's that?
That's close to last year, isn't it?
Last year we did,
Most of those with last year's,
so
too.
last year's tax impact was 982,095 that got presented to the taxpayers. Not all got approved, obviously. Did it work? That didn't work either? Okay, well, so this is where we are. We're working on the bottom, but I think this is, if you all agree, this is what you all heard for requests that had money attached to them that would pertain to this process. Then this is the offsets that again pertain to these requests with a possible change at the truck. And this would be what the warrant would look like if we don't get a change to the truck. So the total, if you agree, that would move forward to the planning board would be the total, all of those requests packaged together comes up to 866,000 as a net.
So if you look at the list, the
Did it come out?
cruiser,
I can't get to the note.
the cruiser, the trucks, and road reconstruction are replacement of existing assets. The carport, ventilator, and scale are new, meaning new assets. Whereas the portable ventilators is a pass-through.
Yeah, no subtract or offset.
Yeah, go ahead, keep talking, we'll listen.
So at this point in the process, are we looking to make a decision to move all of these forward, or recommend some be deferred? What is the general?
The proper term is we will qualify
1967.
and recommend these if we believe that's the case. So we qualify requests as being capital or not being capital. Then we recommend these being done for 2026.
That work? Because this plus that didn't equal 7.
284, oh, round it up. Gotcha. For a second there.
Let me just start off. I think these are all either necessary or appropriate requests. Necessary is the cruiser, the fire truck, road construction. That's to keep them running the railroad, so to speak. Carport is offsetting an issue of the police where if they receive a vehicle that's stolen or a crime scene, they have to secure that. They have to stick it into their carport at the police station, and until they can secure it at another location like a leased storage unit. And if they need to have that to transport other people they arrest, they gotta back that out, move the police in, because they can't transport somebody and process them without having a locked door to do it, which is the garage, if you will. So I see that as offsetting costs, and although it's 2,500, I think that's reasonable, and providing protection of the cars from snow and ice, because in order for the police to respond, they have to remove the snow and ice. So that would be a benefit.
I think
Portable
there was-
ventilators.
I think I just would like to, maybe a third component of that he spoke to was even from a retention, I mean, again, looking at the officers having to use their time to go out and shovel snow, and whereas other towns have these assets. It's, again, using our offices to do their jobs, not to be every 2 hours shoveling off snow.
I don't know if that is an argument that would hold up. I don't know
Yeah.
whether other towns park their vehicles outside or undercover. I think that if we're gonna talk about it to make sure that we're correct in that.
I think he
Other
said
small
that,
towns.
but he didn't say, he didn't list towns. but he
Use the
said-
word some.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I would doubt that every small town has a place to park their cars undercover.
Okay.
Portable ventilators, that's a life and safety issue. They're currently doing it sort of manually. This allows, back in the crisis for COVID, there was no ventilators in the free world. So that became a big issue. This is to allow a workload reduction for paramedics or EMTs, so this can be automatically applied. And the last one, the scale, I see this as being an equity issue. And also, so the town of Ware is collecting the proper revenues for what comes in. So we're not stuck with 30 some odd $1,000 at the end of the year that we will have to pay out of taxes to pay for the tipping fees and transportation.
The scale was on here last year, and at the time, the revenue fund only had half, and it got voted down. So now, now that you've got it almost all paid for, the tax impact is zero, maybe a little more palatable for those that voted no. It's the right thing to do, just for fair and everybody.
Oh, I think, again, if you look at the offset to the end-of-year overages, I mean, I think we just had a number. Did we have a number for the overages so far? But I think he told us what he was averaging last year. I mean, I do think that's a piece,
Was it 30,000?
it was in the 30s, and that was.
We're at 28,782 still.
what is it?
28,782.
Yeah, and I think he's.
Yeah,
and
so
I
it's
think-
still got 3 months left.
I think he said last year it was in the 32,000
Yeah.
range, so there's an offset there, budget offset that he could we wouldn't be facing that every year. You would hope.
It's not a judgment, you're not a judgment either. You weigh what you got, you drive off, you weigh back empty, subtract, and multiply. It's pretty easy. It's a fixed, it's fair for everybody. So last year, just a little history if you wanted. Last year, your total requests were 2,638,660, but your offsetting estimates were 1,656,565. So your net was, you were looking at last year of 982,095. But the biggest one, as you know, was the engine for 1.25. So that's why the huge request from the 1.3. The last time we estimated or did something about that range was in 2023, and at that point, our tax impact was 974,035. So we're still under that. So I guess if you're all, this is, it still has to work its way through paths.
Yep.
So after this stop, it goes back to the planning board. Planning board would go to the selectmen to finance, and then we go from there. So, yes, Tom? Oh, I'm sorry, Denise is charged.
No, going back to the truck for a few minutes. With this grant, would you be applying for 2 trucks or one with the grant?
It's my understanding we applied for 2.
Okay. You applied for 2 and the grant would offset
It offset, our cost would be 92,000 for 2.
for 2? Okay. Yeah, I just remember in the past at one time, there were 2 warrant articles. One was offset and the other one wasn't. I don't know if it's for trucks or police.
Yeah, well, so it might change its path from here, because if you guys agree with what you have in front of you and what you've listened
I'm not
to.
recommending the 2
No,
articles.
I'm just saying it may change before this and the final if we get word.
The
Yes,
select board are responsible for putting warrant articles.
right, I understand that. I'm just
I look at it.
saying, don't divide them, because if you do, the cheap one's gonna pass and the one that's full price
No, we
is
get it.
not gonna pass.
We've been down that road.
I mean, I think the upside is if we got the grant, we're looking at 2 trucks, so twice, we get 2. And the tax impact reduces to $92,000.
Versus
If we don't
two,
get-
yeah.
If we don't get the grant,
It's
we get 1
$260.
truck and the tax impact is $260.
Right.
So there's only an upside, obviously, if we get the grant.
Can't be any worse, right?
Exactly.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to make a motion. I move that we approve the whiteboard slate of $1,245,283 for the requests on the whiteboard, minus the $479,283 for offsets, resulting in an $866,000 should all these pass, and promote this to the planning board.
One second.
I'll third.
All right, so we have a motion to, I'm not going to say it verbatim because I didn't, but to move forward with the request of 1.3 million for 45,283 with an offsets of 479,283 with the warrant articles that would have an impact of 866,000. So we have the motion and a second. Any discussions?
Gary, you all set?
Hearing none. I'll move the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 ayes. No abstentions, so we will move that forward.
Any other business?
I don't think,
I just want to thank you guys for re-energizing the CIP Subcommittee, because last year we did bring everybody in the evening after hours back to the planning board, and the planning board listened to it, just like you did, but the 3 larger operations are here during the day, so they appreciated coming during the day versus at 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night, so.
So just for for me, for sort of like procedural next steps, as this moves forward through the various committees, do we need to have representation from CIP there in case there's questions? I know, Jack, you're on the select board and stuff, but again, if I need to be there.
Yeah.
You gotta take the journey.
Yeah.
Journey is, well, first stop on the journey is to sit with Naomi and Beth and get this presentation together,
That won't be today.
which is pretty much turn of the crank
Yeah.
based on all the information. Then you go to the planning board, the first stop, and hopefully they accept our recommendation as a subcommittee. And then you go to the select board, because they've already received from the planning board the recommendation, and present to the select board. And then once we get done with the select board, and they may accept it, but doesn't mean they're gonna put it on the warrant.
Right.
And then you go to the finance committee. So it's a
So
three-stop.
Jack, just a little bit different, sometimes has worked when the finance committee meets with the department heads. They've gone over their CIP requests at the same time, so they don't have to come a separate night, so we can tweak that a little bit.
So
So I'll get back in touch with you.
as far as the meeting with you and,
It would probably be either the end of October, just for timing on our lives. Either 4th Thursday in October or early in November. But we can stay in touch on
and
that.
then you'll also at some point get the dates of which it will,
Yep,
for the planning board.
sure.
Select board and all.
Yeah, no, that's, the planning board would be those dates. They only meet twice a month, so they meet the 2nd and 4th Thursday, and I can't make it for the 2nd Thursday.
Right, but the 3 of us need to get together and put that
Yeah, it's
presentation.
pretty, yeah, we just use the same ones and just
Okay.
fill in updated information, yeah.
So just let me know.
I will.
I'm pretty flexible right now.
Okay.
We can get down and do that, and then we'll move that through.
Okay, well, thank you guys for doing that. I appreciate all you guys.
I thank everybody also for being here and participating, and also giving me the opportunity, so thank everybody. Very good, and
Okay, John.
I think do I have a motion to adjourn? Do I need that?
I vote yes.
Ready to
I'll
go.
second that.
Okay, all right. We're all in favor of adjourning?
No discussion?
No
Aye.
discussion from me?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.